Thank you so much, Kamel. Thank you, my friends. Last year was an unforgettable Expo Palestine for me. I'm so sorry I'm so far away, but it's much better than nothing. Benjamin Netanyahu did it again. He let us down. I had so many hopes and expectations that he will annexate some of the West Bank at least. And unfortunately, it seems that except of maybe some kind of symbolic annexation, we will not witness a real annexation. And I'm speaking in one way, in an ironic way, but not totally. Because let's put things in the right framework. The Israeli annexation started long time ago. It started 53 years ago, if you want, 100 years ago, but if we are talking about the West Bank, it started 53 years ago, much before Benjamin Netanyahu even dreamed to become Israel's prime minister. And ever since then, and this must be very clear, there were two parallel phenomena, so developments. On one hand, everybody in Israel and in the world believed that the occupation is a temporary phenomenon. Just Israel will find a Palestinian partner and occupation will be over. It's only lack of a partner. The territories are like a game card for the negotiations, and the occupation is a temporary phenomena. This was very convenient for everybody because then you shouldn't do much. I mean, does it really matter if it will be this year or next year? It's around the corner. The end of the occupation is around the corner. At the same time, believing that the occupation is temporary, in Israel, the governments, all the governments, Labor and Likud, Zionist left and right wingers, never had for a single moment a real, serious, genuine intention to put an end to the occupation. This must be also very clear. So on one hand, the whole world believes that it's temporary. On the other hand, there is not even the slightest intention to put an end to the occupation. And how do I know? Very simple, because Israel never stopped the settlement project, and no Israeli government was ready to stop the settlement project, and anyone who builds there has no intention to return it. We have to face it. So those two parallel developments continued for 53 years, and the world was quite happy about it because we all paid our lip service for the two-state solution. We all condemned Israel for building the settlements. The world did finance it, did support it, and condemned it. And Israel learned throughout the years to live with it, to live with the condemnations, to live with all the resolution of the international institution. There is not one international institution which didn't condemn the settlement project, which recognized the occupation. Nothing. And for a moment, it seemed that this can last forever. From time to time, there was the Palestinian resistance, bitter, many times violent, totally justified, but unfortunately not successful. Two uprisings did not bring us to any progress. For a moment, I saw that the first uprising had some kind of contribution because we got into Oslo. But looking backwards, I think most of us would agree that Oslo was another trap, and we all fall into it, including me. Personally, I truly believe that Israel has an intention to go for a change. Oslo had only one purpose: to gain more time, to establish more settlements, and to maintain the occupation on a low level so it will not create too much resistance. So here we are 53 years after, in maybe one of the lowest moments in the history of Israel and Palestine. I think the Palestinians are at the worst moment ever since 48, I must say. Divided, lacking of spirit, still bleeding from the second intifada, lacking of leadership, and above all, The world around us seems to be quite sick and tired, has other issues. The Arab world, as usual, is paying the lip service. The EU is paying some lip service. But by the end of the day, Israel of the last years realized that it can do whatever it wants and not pay any price and not be accountable for anything. This might continue. So I was looking, me personally, for something to shake this status quo, which was never a status quo because Israel kept on building settlements while everyone was talking about status quo. But slowly and gradually, I realized that we reached the point of no return. And again, it will be maybe unpleasant to admit it, but we are there because with 700,000 settlers, including 250,000 or 200 in East Jerusalem, there is no room for any viable Palestinian state. And it's very clear where it goes. It goes for an apartheid state. We just needed the declaration. We just needed the recognition, the wake-up call that the world will realize that it is facing another second apartheid state. And for this, annexation can be very constructive because annexations might put an end to the masquerade. It might put an end, above all, to the lie that the occupation is temporary. Nobody can claim it anyhow after 53 years. But once Israel declares annexation, it says also officially that it has no intention to put an end to it. What is more of a wake-up call? And here comes the main thing, which we have to remind ourselves again and again. When Israel annexates territories, it has no intention to give equal rights to the Palestinians living there. Not only this, the Palestinians, as usual, are totally excluded from the process. This peace plan was formulated between Jews in America and Jews in Israel. By the way, the Jews in America were more extreme, more right-wing, and more racist and more nationalistic even than the right-wing Jews in Israel. But the outcome has nothing to do, neither with Palestine, even not with American interest, by the way. But we have it in front of ourselves, in front of us, and that might become a moment of truth. Because I don't see, I must say, and maybe I'm too optimistic, but I can hardly see Europe and a new administration in the United States just ignoring the annexation as it did ignore the settlements, as it did ignore the attacks on Gaza, as it did ignore so many violations of international resolutions and human rights. So for a moment, I had a hope that this annexation will be this wake-up call, will end the masquerade, will end the bluff, and put a challenge to the world, to Israelis, to Palestinians, to the PA, to all of us. Things are not as they used to be. And this convenient life, not for the Palestinians, but for all the others, of living with the occupation and feeling as if it's not existing, comes to its end. I guess some of those things are postponed now, but maybe still there will be some kind of declaration. Our session deals with resisting the annexation. I think the best way to resist the annexation is to use it as a tool for changing the discourse, for changing the international discourse, changing the Israeli discourse, the Palestinian discourse. That's the time to admit that the settlers won, the settlements are there to stay, the occupation is there to stay, and to start a new struggle. The only struggle can really lead us for justice, I believe. I'm not very happy about it, but I don't see any other struggle but the struggle for equal rights. We have to change the language and start to speak. Some of us do it for a long time, including people in this session. But I think that's the time to recruit Europe, to recruit maybe the new administration in the United States into this new discourse. We are fighting about the choice between two regimes in Palestine. One, a democracy, the other one is an apartheid. That's the only choice left. And I think that once we'll face it, once we'll present it to the world has to answer, are you ready for a second apartheid state? And if you are not ready, and that's the main question, are you ready to use the same means, the very same means that we used against the first apartheid state so successfully? Are you ready to use the same facing another apartheid state? So for me, and by this I include, because I see my precious 10 minutes are over, for me, declaring annexation is declaring Israel as an apartheid state. Declaring Israel as an apartheid state must ring a bell to anybody who is conscious in the world.
Thank you very much indeed for using your 10 minutes so effectively. Thank you very much indeed.